Trenton Black stared at her face, judging her sincerity, before he turned off the shower head. He slid the doors open and reached for the towels hanging on the rack in the bathroom. He gently wrapped Aaron in one and draped the other around his shoulders. He did nothing to conceal his nudity. He was beyond male modesty. It was a trait he had outgrown once he became a man. Aaron stared in open admiration at what he'd been blessed with. He had a glorious body. It was a sight that stirred an intense desire. She accepted his covering and sat on the closed lid of the toilet. Trenton chose the edge of the tub as his seat. He draped it with a dry towel. He had finally gained control over his emotions. "You still love this man," he declared. She nodded. "Even though he's your ex?" "Even though he's marrying someone else," she confessed. The words drew his eyes away from her mouth as he studied her eyes intently. He noted the vulnerability there, her fragile state just behind the watery surface of two tearful eyes. He saw the emotions that she was struggling with. Then he spoke. His words were unexpected, even surprising. "The first time I met you, I hated you with an insanity only a father could have. You had just threatened the welfare of my girls." Aaron listened, startled by his declaration, although she understood his words. But why was he saying this right now? "But the next time I saw you, in the kitchen of my house, hovering over my baby girl, trying desperately to save her life, breathing air into her tiny lungs." He paused, feeling very emotional himself. "In that instant, the hatred vanished. In that moment, I felt like you were an old friend. It took only seconds for that friendship to begin. I truly care about your girls. Yasmin touched my heart the moment she came to my rescue that morning. She sat with me, talked with me." "She's exactly like her mother," stated Trenton. "Is she?" He nodded and then continued. "I've often wondered how strangers became friends. What got them to that point? I guess for us, it was a series of crises," he offered. "I feel like we were friends," she agreed. "I understood your loss," he continued. "I love my wife dearly, more than people can imagine. We met in kindergarten. A very strange, unlikely place, don't you think?" He smiled. "But it's true. She was my playmate, long before I realized that that word had other meanings." "How incredible," cooed Aaron, sounding like a female romantic. "Was it love at first sight?" "I doubt it. We were children. But there must have been something about her that impressed me. We never lost contact over the years." Aaron found herself drowning in his words, the seductive waves of sound pulling her under his spell. He was mesmerizing as a man, strong and principled. Our families moved several times to different parts of the city, but somehow we've always managed to run into each other. Our love was meant to happen. "So it appears. It's a little like Your Hands in Mine," said Aaron, referring to her favorite romantic film about love and friendship. "Must be a chick flick," he smiled. Aaron lunged forward and shoved him with her hand. "Hey, that's not fair. I know some guys who like it too." "That's what they told you," he smiled. "They probably watched the movie because they didn't have a choice, or they were hoping to get lucky that night." "You have a dirty mind, Trenton Black. All men don't think like that." "Yes, we do, especially if it involves the woman we are currently dating." He smiled even harder. "Tell me, how does this movie end? Do you get that happy ending?" "You got to figure it out for yourself, so you're going to have to watch it with me," she teased playfully. "And no, we won't be having sex. Are you sure about that? He asked, leaning closer to Aaron and staring into her eyes. She felt her desire begin to stir. She quickly looked down at her feet. She didn't want to tempt fate again. She changed the subject. I'm so sorry for your loss, she said softly. He silently studied her before he spoke. Was he considering her feminine curves once again? Or was he examining the bronze skin that covered her thighs and long legs? Or was he simply thinking of someone else? Thank you for your sympathy. But the life I had with Tanisha was rich. It is still rich. I have her 3 beautiful daughters and a lifetime of memories. He smiled sadly. Trenton Black paused to collect his thoughts. He had mentioned his marriage for a reason, a point he was trying to make. Then he opened his mouth to speak again. It's a natural part of life to miss someone, to grieve them when they aren't with you. But don't let it consume you. If your ex can't figure out that you are in love with him, that you are still waiting for him to get it right, then eventually you will have to let go. He's not worth it. It may take months, even a year, but don't wait forever. I'm trying to move on. I just can't seem to do it. Aaron, you don't have to rush it, he smiled. Nor do you have to force it, he said, referring to their little interlude. It's not a crime to love someone even when they're gone. He smiled, leaning forward to kiss her gently on the lips. She responded once again to the warmth of his mouth. Everything takes time, even a broken heart, he whispered against her closed mouth. But when? Aaron wanted to ask the question, but instead she gave into his friendly, playful kisses. They were gentle and kind. The kisses reminded her of a slight summer breeze that was warm and restless.